What's going on, legends? So this morning I'm under the pump because I just got here and I already have to go to a call out, 24/7 call out with our other business. So I've already got a call out that I've got to go to in half an hour, but I thought, I nearly turned around and just went and waited at the job until I can get in, but I thought, no, that's a waste of time. I'll at least come here, get things prepped, and then that way, as soon as I finish this job, theoretically, if I don't get any more call outs, I can come straight back here and get stuck into the car. I just wanted to say, I really appreciate you guys that follow the channel, watch my videos, and then come and get work done on your cars. I know I've said it before, but I just find it really cool. You know, like this guy, I'm working on a VY today, and yeah, he broke it down because he's seen one of my videos, didn't even know who I was, and then went, well, he obviously knows what he's doing, so then he's bringing down the car to me, and now I'm working on his car, and I'll do a video on his car, and then hopefully someone will watch that video and then come get work done on their car, and it just keeps going. And I appreciate it, because every one of these jobs that you guys get me to do helps me pay the rent, which makes I can keep making videos for you guys to keep watching. So it's really cool, and it's awesome, and we're all helping each other, and it's great. And I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, yes, we are working on a VY today. We're going to be putting coilovers into it. He's supplied his own coilovers, just a cheaper brand, but they seem to be okay. I'll figure it out a bit more once I get stuck into it. But they didn't come in any stock tops, so I'm going to see what his are like. Generally, they're pretty worn. It's a pretty good idea when you're doing any sort of suspension, guys, that just get new strut tops with your suspension. If you buy good brand coilovers and stuff, they generally come with them. But the cheaper brands, they don't, because it's, you know, it's more money that they'd have to put in, so that's how they make their product cheaper, give you less stuff. But yeah, so well, pull his old struts out. If the strut top's any good, we'll pull them off them and put them on the new coilovers. But if I'm iffy at them at all, I'm just going to put brand new ones on there so I know he's good. The problem with buying the cheap ones is they don't last. So you're better off buying a good brand, but they do cost like 4 times as much as the cheap ones. But they'll also last more than 10 times the time that they should last, if that makes sense. I don't know what I just said. But anyway, yeah, let's get this car in, get these coilovers out of the boot, get these, it's got new wheels to go on the car as well, so we'll be doing the coilovers. He wants it real low, and then he's got a new set of wheels that also the same wheels that are on my Stato, so I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, we'll get it all lowered and fitted up for him, and then hopefully, it's Saturday today, hopefully I can get it back to him Saturday night, and I'm sure he'll be hitting the streets and cruising. But anyway, let's get into it. So I've got two things to pick on these coilover kits already, but I haven't even got them in the car yet. The first thing is I don't have a mount for the brake line and the ABS line. Don't need a mount the brake line and the ABS wiring. So I guess you just got to cable tie it to the thing. I don't really like that idea. So that's kind of not ideal. And the other thing is that they only supply you with one nut when you need two, because you've got one that bolts down the bearing onto the spring and mounts it, and then you've got another nut that needs to go on top of that to mount the top plate once you've actually put the strut into the car. But there's not actually the room on top of the nut to put another nut, even if they supplied you with two of the same nuts that they supply. But luckily enough for this bloke, I have two random nuts that fit these struts, so I'll be able to assemble them with the smaller nut at the start, and then have the big nut up the top. I'll show you what I mean in a second, but yeah, what a pain in the bum. Anyway, let's get back to the install. See the difference between these two? There's only a couple threads on that one. This one's got a full amount of threads, so I can actually get this on top once it's in the car, and I'll be able to properly mount that with the thread. The other thing I've noticed too is that the shaft size, this is why the nuts are different, but the shaft size of this is actually smaller than factory. So it's actually slightly loose in this fitting, which isn't ideal. I don't really like it that much. This does locate the strut in the car. This is kind of just a plate to hold it in place when the suspension goes down, but ideally you would want that as a tight fitting, and it's not anymore. You can move it around a bit. So yeah, there's a few things I'm not happy with these coilovers, but we'll see what they're like once they're in the car. Biggest thing to keep in mind is if I can get them to fit in the car and work, there is a massive price difference. Like to me, for me to supply and fit coilovers in this car, I think is roughly about $2,200 to $2,400 off the top of my head. I'm trying to remember my pricing. But for these, supply and fit, by the time he bought them and then pays me to fit them, it's going to be around like $1,300. So it's only $1,000 less. But to be honest, when I pulled them out of the box, I thought, oh, these don't look too bad. But so far, they've been an absolute pain in the ass to fit. So let's just hope they're comfortable once they're actually in the car, if I can get them in the car, because if I can only do that up 2 threads, I'm not even going to let this thing go out the door. Yeah, we'll just have to see how we go. So usually you would put the strut in and put the nut on the top of the strut, and then bring your hub up and bolt it all back in place. But I'm going to have to try and do this as a reverse way, because I can't get enough of a thread on that nut, and I don't have any more of the nuts that I had to that I've used in there. So yeah, it's making this a bit of a pain, but anyway. So now we're at what should be the easy end, because he wants it so low, you're not really going to put the coilover adjusters in the back. I don't think you will have to. We'll try it with these. I haven't tried it with this brand, obviously, because I've never worked with them before. But generally, if you want it real low, you just put the coilover spring in and adjust the shock all the way down and throw it in, and that's as low as you can possibly go. If that's too low, then you'll have to throw the adjuster in and wind it all the way back down, but it'll raise it up quite a bit. Yeah, so we'll try it with just the spring and see how we go. Hopefully it holds captive, because that's a big thing. But yeah, so here it should be easy. Just throw the shocks out, throw the spring in, and we're done. Turns out he's got a custom subwoofer install, so I've got to pull this apart. But yeah, I need to get to these shocker nuts. Wish me luck. Here's the newest thing that doesn't work very well. Lower shock mounts are meant to slip in like that. I'll grab a shock and I'll show you. So it's meant to slip in here. I'll do this upside down so it goes in a bit easier. So yeah, that's meant to just slide in like that, and that locates the shock in place so that it's not holding the pressure on the bolt. Whereas these ones don't do that. It's just sort of sitting just in. I don't particularly like it. Otherwise I'll have to die grind out the hole that it's going into just a little bit to get these to fit properly, because at the moment I don't like that all the weight's going to be on a bolt that's not even that tight in the hole. I'd much rather the weight be on that control arm, and then that way it's not it's not going to snap that bolt in time. So I'm just looking at this and I'm thinking the best option would be to just grab the die grinder and just die grind out the edge of this hole. Just because it's not missing by much, and that's actually got the rubber on the shock, like on the actual bush it's coated in rubber. So if I just die grind this out and it slides in, that'll really hold it in place. Because the other option is to grind down the shock, and yeah, I don't really like that idea, because even this, because I'm only going to do that first little edge, the standard shocks, if you went back, would still locate in the inner lip, whereas these, I really need to get these located right, because the center hole size for the bolt isn't the same as factory. It's slightly bigger. Same problem we had up the front. Yeah, there's just a lot of little things in this car that I can see the R&D just hasn't been done properly. Yeah, that's the difference between the good coilovers and the bad ones. The bad ones, they're just throwing a kit together, probably that fits different cars and just using different parts and trying to make it work. Whereas the kits that you buy through like me and reputable suppliers like myself, they'll actually bolt in and work. So that's a big difference. If you want to spend a whole day mucking around with a kit trying to get it to fit like what I'm doing today, then yeah, you can save some money, but yeah, you're much better off just having a good kit that just bolts straight in, warranty, it's ADR approved, so you can have it in your car legally. Yeah, I probably wouldn't recommend people buying these kits, but you know, if they want to pay me to fit them, well then I can't really argue with them. That's their choice if they would prefer to buy a cheaper kit. Because yeah, we'll yet to see. It still might be comfortable, but as far as fitment, it's just doing my head in. So I only really had to take off probably 1 millimeter. There's a chance that you're basically just taking off the rust, because they're just steel control arms. So you know, over 20 years or whatever been in the car, I'm sure they got a little bit of rust on them. But yeah, just sort of cleaned it up, and it seems to sit in there now. It doesn't go all the way in, and again, I didn't want to take it all the way through, because if you ever did want to revert this back to a normal shock, you've still got half of it that then locates it back to where it should be factory, but at least I've got half of that thread, and the factory ones don't slide in that far anyway, so I think it should be fine. I think that this will work well for what it is. Again, the more and more I get into this kit, the more and more I'm thinking you are just better off buying the good kits.
So it's yeah, it's pretty much done. I'm just checking with the customer whether he wants the front that low. I reckon it should come up a little bit at the front. The back's all the way down. Like I said, I've just chucked the coilover spring in with the shock. There's no adjuster in there, and that's pretty much what coilover rear is. Kind of useless if you want it low because yeah, you can't. It just sits at a good height without the adjuster in there. You put the adjuster in there, ends up being way too high. The front's sitting pretty good, but yeah, I would personally have it maybe 10 mil higher just so it doesn't scrub all the time. I just took it for a drive up and down the road here and it drove really well. Once I know the height's fine, I'll just double check everything and then take it on a drive up the highway. But I actually think the coilovers handle quite well. So although they were a pain to fit, yeah, if you're happy to muck around with the fitting, then yeah, sure, that maybe it's worth saving a bit of money. But I guess the only other thing that I don't know yet is how long they'll last. So, you know, we give 3-year warranty with our stuff. I'm not sure how long these would last, and I'm sure they don't have any warranty. But that might not bother you, because if you're buying them yourself and fitting them yourself, then if you've got to buy another set and then fit them again, it might not really. You can buy 3 sets for the price of 1 set. So, but it's more the labour cost of install. If you can't install them yourself and you've got to get someone like me to install them, then you don't really want to be paying that 3 times. Anyway, I'm going to clean up some stuff while I'm waiting for him to get back to me. But yeah, and then we'll go for a drive. Well, that's it, guys. The car's been picked up and it's gone back to the owner. He seemed to be really happy. Loved the height, how it looked with the new wheels, all the clearance, all the sort of things. But I wanted to take the camera with me in the car when we took it for a test drive, but unfortunately it's just too dark, so we wouldn't have been able to film in the car. Drove really well. His wheels definitely needed balance, but apart from that, everything was really good. Coilovers themselves, overall, I think for the price, realistically, they're not that bad. But yeah, they're just a little bit stiffer, like a little bit more bumpy. And then, like I said, the install process was a bit more difficult. But yeah, if you guys want something installed like that, or you want me to supply and fit some high-end coilovers, I'm happy to do whatever. But yeah, wheels, tyres, suspension, that's me. Come see me and I'll sort you out. Cheers, guys.